is Mike Graen. Welcome to the Supply Chain Management Research Council, focused on-shelf availability. I'm your host today, and I'm joined today by Pierre Marie Rallu, who's the CEO of 1retailAI. They are a company that works very closely with SES Imagotag to understand on-shelf availability using computer images. Please join me with my conversation with Pierre. Thank you very much, and good afternoon. And we're absolutely thrilled to have Pierre here with us. We're going to spend a little bit of time talking about our favorite topic, which is on-shelf availability. Not a big surprise, since this is kind of the focus that we've had for quite a while in this space. But before we get into the specifics of it, Pierre, I'd be love to have you kind of unmute, introduce yourself to our audience, and give us a little bit of background on yourself.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you for having me today on the podcast. So my name is Pierre Marie Rallu, as you just stated. I've been in the retail technology for retail world for about 20 years, more or less in the forecasting, replenishment, and supply chain space, in-store, warehouses, and all of the above. I started 1retailAI a couple of years back to help startups, especially focus on AI technology, to grow in the retail segment, the retail vertical in the US. It has been most of my career has been studying or helping companies grow in that segment. So that has been a core thing.
That's outstanding. Well, you and I have something in common. I've been doing it for 40 years. You've been doing it for 20 years. I guess the good news and the bad news is we're still employed because it's still an opportunity, right? We haven't quite got figured out. Even since the first retail store got open, we've always got issues with on-shelf availability. And Pierre, one of the things that I always ask my guests on this podcast or this Conversations on Retail is the following question: take your day job away for a second, put that on the side, put yourself in the shoes of a customer, because all that we can think about from a technology standpoint, from an AI standpoint. At the end of the day, our best experience is going to be being a customer shopping in a store. So any stories that you could provide to us where you actually, as a customer, went in to purchase a product and were disappointed that it wasn't there. You don't have to call out the retailer or the brand or anything like that, but tell us how you felt through that. What did you do about it, et cetera? Would be pretty interesting to hear.
I think you want to, there are actually two stories you want to mention here. You want to talk about showing up in the store with a specific need and not finding what you want, or going online, buying something and not getting what you want when it's
both of them
in the house.
Both of them are painful.
I have three daughters here who are very specific on what they want to eat and drink and things like that, and we shop a lot online. I mean, my wife and I both work, so we tend to use Instacart or Shipt or directly the retailer website. And again, no names, but I would say almost 100% of the time, one or two products are being either substituted or just removed from the delivery. And our best case scenario is substituted by something which is kind of similar, which is fine. Or worst case scenario, they just move the Nutella to another brand, and that's a disaster in the house. Everything exploding out there. So I think everybody has this experience already. And when you show up at the store, it's there's a couple of things which are main pain takers for the clients. Is really like, well, first of all, not finding your product. It can be the product itself, it can be the brand you want, it can be or just the fact to go and search for the product and having to spend 10-15 minutes to look for the exact product you need. I mean, in the grocery store can be pretty large. So those are some of the experience that you see that are an issue currently in the customer journey.
Yeah. And I guess two other things is, typically if you're looking and you think you already checked the website and they said they had 4 of them and you go to the shelf and they're not there, the obvious thing is to ask a employee of that company, hey, do you have any of these? Well, it says we have 4. In those dreaded words, let me go back in the back and look for them, which basically means you'll be standing there for a while before that person probably actually returns. The other one, which is interesting, is either my kids or my wife will look at me and go, isn't this what you do? Isn't this supposed to be fixed because you guys work on this stuff all the time? So somehow you get thrown. Yeah, not only did I disappoint because it's not there, but somebody throws me under the bus because that's my job to fix that. So Well, that's awesome. Well, the point is we all are customers as well. So we've all experienced either ordering something online, going to pick it up in store and it not being there, or going through and getting major substitutions or eliminations of things that you really needed in the store. And so part of what we want to spend some time talking about is certainly there's a people and a process portion of that and a supply chain, et cetera. There's lots of reasons why things aren't on the shelf. But one of the things that we do is try and work against technology to at least lets people know about that. So tell me about your company. I know you're integrated or working very closely with SES and Magotag. You're part of them now. Tell me exactly what you do with the company you have now.
Sure, yeah. So I started 1retailAI a couple of years ago. I mean, in order to work with as many startups as I can in the retail world and help them grow in that retail. And as you mentioned, you're absolutely right. I mean, there is technology, there is process, and there is people. And actually, it starts with people, and then process, and then technology.
Yep.
And quite often, I mean, the technology can be really good, but if the technology doesn't fit into the process, and if the people don't use that technology, well, this technology is very useless.
Right.
And therefore, part of what I'm doing is looking at, okay, what does the retail world needs? What makes sense to me? And where do I see value? And then I start working with those companies. For example, I started to work a year and a half ago with a startup called BeLive.ai, and they are specialized in computer vision AI. And so basically what they do is you put cameras on the shelf, and the cameras is watching the opposite shelf and then taking pictures all the time in near real time. And then there are big AI algorithms behind the scene that are analyzing the products, looking at doing deep learning, understanding the products, exactly as you and I recognize a product on the shelf. The AI does the same thing. And then they look at, okay, what is out, what is partially out, what is out of place or upside down or these kind of things, and then help the employees to guide them through the store on a real-time basis, help prioritize and kind of things. So I really like the idea, and we will come back. We both know supply chain, but we'll get back to it. But I really like the idea, and it happened that BeLive has been acquired very recently by SES in Magotag, and to join the business unit of computer vision of SES. So now I'm very close to SES, understanding how we are merging the solutions and how we're building that vertical, especially in North America. That's a little bit time. And I just spent a week actually. I just spent a week actually with the SES leadership team in a retreat in France, not too shabby, in the chateau.
Oh, it only took you 10 minutes to tell me you just got back from Paris. That's just not right.
Yeah, that's right. we will skip the champagne and everything. The company has a vision which is very interesting, and I think it fits pretty well where the retail world is right now.
Yeah, just for our audience, SES and Magotag is an incredible company. I've worked with them quite a bit. I actually worked with them when I was at Walmart with electronic shelf labels, et cetera, bringing basically digital intelligence to the shelf, right? Whether it's shelf labels, whether it's cameras, in your case, taking that camera methodology and being able to look at the opposite side of the aisle and say, because it's really important. Everybody say, well, we should be able to look at a shelf and say there's a label and there's no product. That's pretty easy. But there's a label and there's product, but it's the wrong product. We call those incorrect products or plugs. We see times where the price at the register and the price actually at the shelf in the paper label world environment are different. That's a problem. So talk to us a little bit about that methodology of literally using computer vision. I'm assuming it's real-time computer vision to identify what the opportunities are on the shelf.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me give a step back, one thing which is very important to understand as well is maybe understand some of the forces of the market and why that makes sense now. I mean, you mentioned SES in Magotag. It's a company which is actually 30 years old, which is in the technology world like a dinosaur. But in the meantime, it really behaved as a startup or multiple startup, I would say. And so the company, as you mentioned, um, has been known. They're the number one in the world for ESL, so the electronic shelf labels, which is their historical job. But they have recently transformed under the impulse of its CEO Thierry Gadou, and to become a real offer around digitalization of the physical store. And what we see right now is, I mean, ESL has been in Europe on the shelf of every grocery store for 20 years. I mean, I grew up with ESLs, and I'm not 20 years old. And the and the and surprisingly, I arrived in the US in early 2000, and I didn't see a single ESLs anywhere. And as of today, I mean, it's very, very rare to find ESLs on the shelf.
Yeah.
When we talk about 2 or 3% market penetration, which is compares to 60-65 in Europe. And what we see is that the market has evolved itself. The US market has evolved. I mean, under the global pressure, the rising labor costs, the energy costs going up, and then the e-commerce, the pressure of the e-commerce to align the experience, the customer experience in the store. All of that is bringing a lot of pressure on transforming the brick and mortar experience. And a lot of that is, and this is why the offer of SES makes a lot of sense, because the fact of digitalizing the store basically realign a little bit the e-com and the brick and mortar stores, physical stores.
Got it. That's great. That's great
So,
background. That's great background.
and they are, and then after, of course, we can talk about the ESL, which is blooming in the US, and so being in that market right now makes a lot of sense. But then above and beyond just the ESL, which are driving dynamic pricing and promotion policies and things like that much faster and much easier, there are a number of technology, including computer vision and AI, that are also going to help digitalizing that store.
Yeah.
Digitalizing that store and to work on that work.
I know the electronic shelf labels, and I know that's not your specific area of focus, but not only does it provide you consistent pricing and correct pricing at the shelf, so that shelf price and the price at the register are the same price versus a different price. But also you're building intelligence into those now, where literally if I'm picking items for a customer, as I turn around the corner and I have 2 of these that I'm looking for, they have LED lights that can blink to me and say, hey, I'm right here, pick right here, rather than where is that item? There's a whole bunch of items. I mean, when you're talking about great big, things of paper towel, it's not that hard. When you're thinking about cosmetics or things that are very SKU intensive, that what we call picking operation becomes easier. And from a stocking standpoint, allowing an associate or a employee to pick out an item, scan the UPC, and have it blink to where it goes, rather than trying to find in a big 4-foot section where it's supposed to go, I think is a game changer. Let's focus back on the out of stock work, because that's the most exciting part of this. So it's an exciting time to be part of retail. So where is AI and computer vision today, and where do you see it kind of going in the future? So let's start in the kind of the US market, because I think you're right, it's a little bit behind where Europe is. Where is it today, and where do you think it could go in the future?
So currently what we see, so if you think about the supply chain in the retail, and most supply chains, the purpose of the supply chain is to bring the right product at the right place at the right price, right? So in the retail world, that would mean, I mean, you want to have the product on the shelf when the customer is coming and look for it. Well, interestingly enough, almost no retailers can factually know that the product is on the shelf at the time they know it. They might know, best case scenario, they might know they have it in the store, but they don't know if it's on the shelf when the customer is looking for it. And you think about all the effort, the massive resources that are being spent in terms of supply chain logistics to have the store people, all the automation of the replenishment, or the planogram automation, and so on. And still, I mean, we can't say if the product is there. So I think this is that vision that we're bringing with that technology. When I say vision, I'm very about this computer vision that we're bringing. the idea is to have an eye on the shelf that's looking at those products permanently, real time or near real time, and that are able to address the information that the product is out, is low, or is full. And then being able to drive the store operations and the supply chain in order to improve that stock position. So there are. So I'm coming back, just a little background. I'm coming back to what you said. I mean, I would say Europe and the US are about the same level on this one. ESLs, yes, different ball game for sure. But computer vision, we're talking about an emerging technology, and we will come back to it. And so I would say there are players in Europe and players in the US, and it's kind of tiptoeing at the moment on where we are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So just got a text message from somebody. So I'm going to ask you a question that's kind of off script here a little bit. As you think about a big mass merchandiser like a Walmart or a Target or somebody, you've got some product on certain parts of the store that computer vision makes all the same. You have other product categories like apparel and maybe electronics, et cetera, that may be different, right? So how does confusion, because I don't think computer vision is a one-stop, solution for everybody. I don't think RFID is one-stop solution for everybody. How do you see these technologies working together for different kinds of categories like apparel versus boxes of cereal?
That's a very good point. So computer vision is good for what you can see easily. I mean, when do you have a box of cereal on the shelf or not? And I will divide that. And then there are areas, as you mentioned, it's very difficult to recognize a black T-shirt size L from a black T-shirt size M just by vision. So that is a little bit of that's a little bit of the limit to a certain degree. But just computer vision itself has been evolving pretty fast, meaning that. For example, I mean, over the last 6 months, I spent a lot of time on produce and the capability to actually recognize the produce, making the difference between a banana, an orange, an apple, understanding the level of inventory of the produce on the shelf. With this limitation, of course, I mean, but we will, and understanding also the ripeness of the product. I mean, is the product, mature, not mature? How long time it's been standing on the shelf? So because the cameras are looking at the product, I mean, we can see if a product that has a shelf life of a couple of hours has been sitting on the shelf for a couple of hours. And then there are a lot of business cases that are being developed above and beyond the standard grocery or GM merchandise or GM categories. So there are a number of categories that are good, very good candidates for computer vision. And then you mentioned adding other technologies around the store and the store digitalization, and that's a little bit the idea of SES, is not a one-stop shop on one technology. You are going to have a number of technology that are going to be complementary. For example, you can have smart pushers that are counting the products on the shelf. You can have scales that are weighing the product on the shelf. And then when you start having this mix of technologies, we start having a much more accurate visibility of what you have in your store.
Okay, well, so you just opened up a very interesting conversation, because typically people say, well, computer vision is great. It tells you if the product's on the store, but unlike things like RFID, computer vision can't count. I can see the first one, but I can't see the ones behind it. You just uncovered something. Those pushers, the weight sensors, talk to us a little bit about the role that they play in not only the product is available, but how many are on the shelf. And it also could generate a signal to a store associate saying, hey, by the way, a new case can now fit. It couldn't fit a few minutes ago, but it can now fit. Walk to us through that.
Well, this example of the case shows that you know retail pretty well. I mean, understanding that you have 1 or 2 cans of soup is one thing. Understanding you have room for a new case of soup is another thing.
Right.
Because when we think in terms of replenishment, I mean, we don't buy by the SKU, right? We buy by the PCB. We buy by the case or the pack. This is where the replenishment is understanding replenishment is very important. It's not just a number of understanding the exact quantity which is on the shelf, rather that is it the time to order a new pack or not. And so when you think about just computer vision, what can a computer vision do? Well, computer vision is going to look at the holes on the shelf. You're going to look at if a product is low or not. We can see that if there's one facing of two facing or three facings. And the computer vision will be able to understand if a product is not at the right place or not. Okay, right. If you have your planograms, you're supposed to have two facings, and suddenly you have three or four because you're missing the product on the side. I mean, that makes sense. And so those are some of the business cases that computer vision can solve. And then it's going to guide the employees toward what actually matters. Because at the moment, if you look at the standard grocery store, boy, every day you go and scan your gaps and check if am I zero, do I have a quantity on hand, is it going to be delivered today? But you have to go and check your scanning your gaps on a regular basis. The problem of doing that is even if you manage perpetual inventory, well, when you look at the shelf, you don't know if there is perpetual inventory until you check it. Well, that's what computer vision will do for that. They're gonna receive the file of your balance on hand and compare that with what you have on the shelf and just manage the exception. So suddenly you don't have to scan the 2, 3, 4,000 holes you have on the shelf, but just maybe the 500 or 600 that are actionable in the store. And when I say actionable, maybe they're on the back room, maybe they're on the riser if you have an inventory on the riser, or maybe the quantity is wrong, and then you need to adjust the quantity. And when you do that on a daily basis, well, you start to have a much leaner replenishment. When every day you correct your balance on hand, and we can talk about why there are balance on hand discrepancies. But when every day you are cleaning your stock in the store, well, your replenishment gets better. Your replenishment gets better, gets leaner. Your out of stock goes down, but your inventory level goes down as well because you don't have excess inventory. And all of that drives a much leaner supply chain because your demand, which is the store, is much more accurate.
Okay, perfect.
To come back to the second part of your question, just finishing, you were asking about the pushers. Well, yes. The pushers are going to, and the RFID as well, or everything which is attached to the unit will be able to actually count the product. And counting the product is a very important information, especially in specific categories. When if you go in cosmetics with very high margin, high price products, well, I mean, a case is expensive. So you want to make sure that you're ordering at the right point. So knowing the number of products you have in those categories, pharmacy, cosmetics, and then we can go in apparel as well. I mean, we have different way of counting the product on the hanger. And so those technologies provide a much more granular visibility on the count. And that granularity enables even more precision in your replenishment.
Got it. So JW's asked basically a really good question, I think, from my perspective. He was interested in, hey, give me a one or two or three use cases for computer vision AI versus kind of what the typical RAIN RFID, which is basically UHF RFID, that a retailer might choose. What are those use cases from a computer vision that you think stand out as a differentiator?
Well, first of all, as far as I know only one chain that has enabled RFID across all its product in its entire chain. And that's Decathlon, the sporting goods chain. Yep. And their experience is fantastic. I mean, you pick whatever you want in the store. Everything, 100% of the products are RFID. And then you go through the gate, and then it flashes the RFID, and then it bills you. So you still have to go and billing in their case, but no counting, no need to put. I mean, this is a fantastic experience. But they were able to enable it for a couple of reasons. Well, first of all, the sporting goods company. So I mean, you are not talking about you're talking about fairly high price per SKU in general, and they're almost. I don't know the exact number, but they have a very high level of private label. They manufacture probably 50% or more of their goods. So since they manufacture, well, they embed the RFID from the manufacturing process. And then they spend a lot of time for the other 50% to RFID themselves in the warehouse. So that's an investment
Yep.
that seems to be paying at the store level. So RFID is great, but if you take a Walmart that have, I don't know, 120,000 SKUs, a lot of them are very low cost. I mean, enabling the RFID is very complicated. It's actually not done at all. And therefore, well, we look at computer vision because that's much easier to enable. It's much more realistic in the store at the moment, and provide a mass solution. So ideally, everything would be RFID, and then life is great. Well, reality of the supply chain is different. And concerning the business case, what was really what I mentioned earlier is really like being able to be super specific on how to get organized in the store based on the knowledge and the data we have. What computer vision does is it brings a new set of data, which is the presence of the product on the shelf constantly. And the idea is really to be able to change the paradigm of having people which are maybe dedicated to grocery or dedicated to GM that have to know their product, maybe with a more versatile workforce in the store, which is more task driven, more rather than schedule driven.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. So again, I got a text from somebody. So this may be a little bit a question that you weren't really expecting, but I think it's an important one. There are other solutions that are computer vision solutions that either are crowdsourcing, i.e. go and take the picture and do the analysis there. I'm thinking of things like Field Agent, Trax, et cetera. There's also a suite of solutions which are robotics based, Badger Robot, Brain Robot, Symbi Robot, some of those folks who are literally scanning items on the shelf and reporting that same back. Obviously, fixed cameras is a different solution. Walk us through the differences between somebody taking the picture versus a robot catching the picture versus fixed cameras from your point of view.
Yep. So there are pros and cons in every technology. I think I've been playing with a little bit all of them. So and I landed on fixed cameras. But so when you talk about pictures using a mobile phone and things like that, the advantage of that picture that you have the flexibility to have a very neat picture really in front of what you want to focus on. So and it's a very light solution. There's not a lot of investment upfront because you don't have to install anything, but you need people to do that. And the fact of having the folks doing that, well, that has a recurring cost which is extremely high, which is the folks taking the picture. And from most of the brands that I've worked with, like Coca-Cola, cheers, like Coca-Cola or Nestle or those guys. My wife works at Coke, so we have a ton of things there. But so disclaimer, but a lot of the feedback I had is the lack of consistency of the pictures. I mean, they're gonna take because you have an army of people there which are taking the pictures, so you need to train them. Taking a picture is easy, but taking the right picture so the AI can analyze the right data. I mean, do I have the right frame? Do I see everything? Do I consistently take? Didn't I miss one of the shelf or two shelves or something like that? And a big one of the issue I've heard about is consistency. After consistency, it's not a big deal if the business case is around, for example, merchandising, because merchandising doesn't require as much velocity as inventory. So you can have a view of your shelf once a week or once every 2 weeks. And statistically, you can start looking at, okay, am I compliant? Am I not compliant? And things like that. And so for merchandising, especially for the brands, I mean, that's a solution that seems to make sense. Now, there are a lot of brands that we talk to that want more, that want to have much more detailed KPIs, that want to understand the inventory position of their products, that want to understand the dynamic of the product, like a heat map. How fast is the product moving during the day? Because that's what fixed camera can do, right? They're taking pictures all the time. So they can analyze, even if the product's not out, whether the product moved, whether the product removed and put back, and create a heat map of the interaction between the client and the shelf. So the effectiveness of the merchandising, if you want. So that's one thing. The other thing is you mentioned the robots. You mentioned Simbe. I mean, we're sponsored by Graen. So the robots also have a great value in the sense that when they are first of all they are very close to the shelf. They have a very nice. They usually they have very nice sensors with good lenses. They can analyze, read the barcode and everything. So there are a lot of information associated with the robot, and they can run continuously in the store. That said, a robot will give you a picture position once or twice a day at the maximum, unless you have an army of robots, but I don't think that's the point. And so it's going to give you 1 or twice a day inventory position, which is good, and as well as merchandising position. So I think the part of having the robots is interesting for that perspective. After there is the customer perception of the robot in the store. Some like, some don't. I mean that's one thing, and the fact that you also have a potential single point of failure. The robot doesn't start. I mean, it won't work at all today. So if you're looking for some solution that gives you really looking for to tackle your out of stocks, I personally think the shelf edge cameras are the best. But if you're just looking for to tackle a merchandising pain point or a branding pain point, well, then those solutions might work.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Pierre from 1retailAI. Join us next time as we resume the conversation to discuss more about leveraging computer vision and artificial intelligence at retail.